Alright, so 2-minute Tanya tidbit for today. So in the previous day's Tanya, we explained the idea that a person would not only not do a sin to go against God, as that would disconnect him from God, but a person won't even miss out on an opportunity to do a mitzvah essay, and a positive command, as a person will fully do it in the greatest way when he realizes that this mitzvah is something which is connecting him to God. And just like a person would give his life up to God, not to be disconnected, so too a person should give up everything that he has to make sure that he does a mitzvah which is going to connect him with God in the greatest way possible, and he would never give up anything in order to make sure that he's always connected to God at all costs. Now, in today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that it's not only a great unity which lasts 1 minute, but actually a unity with God when you do a Torah, a mitzvah, it's something which lasts forever. It's something which is eternal. As when a person connects himself with God, he's connecting himself with something which is higher than time and space. As the idea of God himself is much higher than time and space, so too God's will and his expression of his will, when it's expressed in the Torah, it's something which is higher than time, and therefore it doesn't change at all. Like it says in many psukim, God will never change his Torah. God's words last forever. They'll never change. So the Torah is something which is eternal, which lasts forever, and therefore when a person does Torah and connects himself with the Torah, he's now connected to something which is higher than time and space. The only thing is that when you're in this physical world, it's only able to be unified with God at the time that you're learning Torah, because you're limited to a physical time and place. But really, the accomplishment of learning Torah and accomplishing of doing mitzvahs is something which is much higher than the whole idea of time, and it's a unity with God which lasts forever. Now, down here though, when you finish learning Torah and you start dealing with the world, you start dealing with things which are totally empty, you're now disconnecting yourself from God. Now, what we mean by that is something which is totally not connected to God, as obviously if you're still doing other things which are connecting to you to God, you're still connected with Him. But if you start doing with total physical things and totally things which are not necessarily for the service of God, you're actually going against God in a certain sense, because you have the opportunity right now to learn Torah and you're not learning Torah. But obviously once you do tshuva and you ask God to forgive you for that, and you start serving God properly, of course He forgives you. Like it says that when a person does tshuva, he has to wait for God to forgive him, but then God does forgive him, and he's able to continue serving God in the greatest way. And this is why that sage is actually instituted, that we say Slach Lanu 3 times a day. We say it in Shevat every day, that we ask God for forgiveness. This is referring to the sin of bittul Torah, person not using out his time and learning Torah, because it's something which a person is not saved from any time. A person every single day transgresses this sin, because there's always another opportunity that you have to learn which you didn't necessarily utilize. And therefore the Chum instituted this idea, just like the Kabbalah Tamid, which was instituted for the idea of going against the mitzvah aseh, which a person is going to do every day. Now, seemingly someone might ask, if so, this is called echtev oshuv, which means that someone seemingly is sinning because of the idea of the fact that he could do tshuva. Seemingly tshuva doesn't work. Says the Alter Rebbe, that's not true over here, because over here it's not that you're sinning because you're going to do tshuva. The idea of echtev oshuv, where it doesn't work to do tshuva, is that the reason why you're doing the sin is because you know you could always do tshuva over here. Here, the reason why you're not learning Torah is because you were busy, you were distracted, you weren't interested in learning right now. So therefore you can do tshuva on that, even though, because the reason why wasn't because of the tshuva itself. Therefore the tshuva is not the cause for you to do sin, and therefore it's still able to work when you do tshuva. That's the end of today's Tanya. See you next time.